Hello, this is Now What with Gina. How are you today? I am just getting started, a little turned around here. I think I am every time I come on here. But hello. Now What with Gina, where I offer suggestions, answer questions, and tips about sobriety. Where I also say stupid shit I'm later gonna regret. Yes, I have not said that the way I normally say it. Because why? Because first of all, I'm rearranging, but also because I don't have my setup here. In fact, it's kind of starting to get better than it was before, but I have moved. If you haven't noticed, I got a different background, and I am trying to figure everything out. Actually, I'm not even talking into the microphone. How about this? I'm trying to figure everything out. If you can hear me, please let me know. My setup is brand new. So there we go. Anyways, um, if you're just joining us, the topic today is um, this week's topic is what spirituality really looks like. If you missed last week, well, that's okay because so did I. I was in the middle of moving and still haven't fully moved, but I was in the middle of moving then, and I wasn't able to come on the way I normally have been. And so the topic was not sorry. And that comes from the idea that actually it came from the idea that I apologize too much. I will probably get back to that one in a later session because I really do want to talk about it. I just have not done so yet. So I was in the middle of moving my stuff and haven't been able to get to it. Anyways, today's topic is what spirituality really looks like. We I go to AA and I read a lot of posts about people saying they've tried AA, they don't like it because of all that spiritual crap. And it is really, really not what you think it is. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today. And I want to talk about the benefits of spirituality to sobriety. So stick around with us and you will get some of that. But first, in light of today's topic, I recorded last week, even with the move, I was able to get this done, a 5-day challenge for mindfulness. And I got all days in, not when I wanted to, but I did get all days in. And so on the Facebook group, in my Facebook group, there is a series of 5 videos on mindfulness, and it talks about everything from mindfulness for changes to grocery store mindfulness. And each topic does address mindfulness in terms of sobriety. I did not realize before I got on here that my microphone does not reach me unless I lean in really far. So I'm so uncomfortable right now. It worked really fine when I was practicing and figuring it out. Let's see if I can change this up a little bit so I can back up a little bit. The light in this room is also horrible, but I parked myself directly in front of a window, which is supposed to be great. It normally gives me wonderful light, except we're having a pretty good storm today, and there's a lot of lightning, electricity. If you see me jump, don't worry, no one's attacking me. We're just getting the attack from the electricity. So yeah, I got that going on. Anyways, can if you are on Facebook, I would love to see a comment, whether or not you can hear me. Like I said, this is a new microphone, a new setup, and I tested everything. But I've tested things before and found, oh, it's not working quite the way I intended. So, anyways, let's talk about spirituality. As I said, a lot of people, I see a lot of posts about AA. People want to join AA, but discover that there's this spirituality aspect of it. Even me, when I joined AA, I thought, "Oh god, I gotta deal with the God shit." And I don't mean to say it like that. It's not that I disbelieve in God. It's not that I put anyone down. It's that when you're first getting sober, it's really hard to have that faith. A lot of people feel like God let them down, like God's not listening, and so it is difficult. And if you give it some time, y- y- that kind of goes away. It definitely did for me. When I first got sober, it was definitely this God crap attitude. It's again, it goes away. It's not like that. But also for a lot of people, it doesn't change. I mean, it gets a little less on their nerves, I think, but they understand that spirituality, in terms of AA, in terms of getting sober, and I'm not going to talk all about AA, I just want to give you my experience. But spirituality, in terms of getting sober, is not quite what they think. It's not about, AA is not about church. It is not about constant praying and stuff like that. Some people do, yes, there's a lot of that going on in there, but the big most important part of this is the spirituality, and spirituality is not religion. I guess you could maybe consider it a kind of religion, but it's not. So I'm going to talk today about what it is and what it isn't. Well, I just said what it is, and it is not necessarily religion. It is a mindset. Anyways, I got a number of things here I want to talk about. I got notes everywhere. And part of that is because I do not have my normal setup. Normally I have screens with my notes all over my screens, but I don't have those right at the moment. They'll come back, but for now, it's traditional papers for me to take my notes. So spirituality, there are 5 paths of spirituality that you can take, and some places say more, but I'm going to talk about these 5 because I think they fit really nicely in with sobriety, but also with the idea that you don't have to become all metaphysical, and you don't have to meditate in all paths of spirituality. There are different ways that you can look at it, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. So there's five paths that we're going to talk about. Yeah, I had to recount because again I don't have it on my screen, so I didn't look. And the 5 paths. The first path is a path of knowledge. And you can combine these, as I most certainly have. The first path is the path of knowledge. This is about learning everything you can about getting sober, about how the brain works, about energy. When I first got sober, I was having to face my son's death for the first time in sobriety, and I wasn't ready to dive into church and dive into religion and to dive into believing that there's a God, but I was willing to learn. So I took initially the path of knowledge, and by that I found some self-awareness. What was I really telling myself that wasn't true? What did I believe about myself that wasn't true? This is one of the paths that you can take, and I think this is like really an important path because once I started really paying attention to who I was, to what I wanted, to what I believed about myself, I started seeing inconsistencies. Um, because underneath the good things were the bad things. Underneath the bad things, there were some good things, definitely. I believed that I was a loser. I believed that no one would love me. And I found some self-awareness and discovered that it's not that no one loves me, it's that I had difficulty loving myself. And so as soon as I discovered that, I could start taking moves to learn to love myself. And I did that through education, reading Brene Brown's book, Daring Greatly. I read that early in sobriety. I listened to videos on self-care. I listened to videos on spirituality, of course, Buddhism, just everything I could to find the answers, and not necessarily about spirituality. I did a lot of studying on how the brain works and NLP. I did some of that, and how to reframe your thoughts for sobriety. Also, intellectual enlightenment, waking up to the possibilities of spirituality, waking up to who I was. This is goes right in hand with self-awareness, but I didn't even know who I was, and I didn't even know that I didn't know who I was until I found this sense of spiritual enlightenment. So that is the path of knowledge. The next one is the path of the heart, and that one does involve praying. It involves meditation, it involves faith. It does not have to include all of those. I, again, in early sobriety, did not have faith. I had to discover that. And I I again took another deep dive. I went and spent 4 days on a camping trip that was supposed to be a party camping trip on Pensacola Beach at the bars, having a great time. It wasn't even supposed to be camping, it was supposed to be in a hotel, but I did not wanna cancel my trip, but I didn't wanna party on Pensacola Beach, so I turned it into a camping trip, a solo camping trip, and I spent that entire weekend, reading books about God and about spirituality. Went to meetings. I had meetings scheduled every day. AA meetings scheduled every day, including a meeting on the beach in under tiki lights, tiki torches, and with the waves crashing. And it's Pensacola. It doesn't crash like California. It actually, sidebar here, it sounds very different. That was really weird when I first realized that. I had been in Alabama and been hanging around the beaches for quite a while, and I saw a video about on a California beach, and I thought, "Wow, it sounds so much different." But anyways, back to my topic. I did a meditation. I did a meeting on the beach where I just really got into that heart, that passion that I have. What do I want to do with my life now that I'm sober? Granted, I was only 10 days sober, so eh, I didn't quite have it all figured out at that point, but I did figure out a lot journaling on the beach and again meditating, and just so much happened during that week. Um and the path of the heart is not necessarily about religion, like I had said. The path of meditation, that again is also about meditation. And through meditation, you learn calmness, you learn mindfulness, you learn meditation. You can practice yoga to do this. And yoga is meditation. I'm not going to say it isn't, because mentally your goal is to get in the same place, but it I remember the first time I did yoga, the next day I woke up in so much pain, and I could not believe that that was possible. I could not believe that just standing in one position or sitting in one position would cause me this much pain. But yoga is part of the path of meditation, and the goal of that is to um, to get yourself into focus, to get yourself outside of the outside world problems and into self-awareness and into, self-reflection. And get rid of then and get rid of the future and those worries that we have about those two things. A lot of people really dive into the path of service and as a form of spirituality. A lot of people, and again, AA really promotes this, but you don't have to be part of AA to dive in the path of service. I know that when I finish doing a good deed for someone else, whether I know that person or not, usually when I don't know that person is when it feels better. When I dive into doing that good deed, I'm overwhelmed by spirituality. I I feel, I don't know, I feel huge. I feel like my heart's enlarged. And one year, a few years ago, after my actually the first year after my son died, I decided that I would do 21 years of spirituality. 21, no. I would do every day between his death date and his birth date, which is February 6th to February 15th. uh, I would do a good deed, a pay it forward deed, and actually I couldn't do that. After I did my first pay it forward deed, I was in tears. I was so overwhelmed by paying it forward that I felt connected to him, and I felt just emotional. Um, the path of service is a good way for a lot of people to find that connection, to find that spirituality. You can use the path of service in a lot of ways. We have not far from us, and I wanted to participate in it, but it is farther away from where I live now. But there is a turtle sanctuary, turtle rescue program, and all I don't know exactly what they do, but I know they go on the beaches, they clean up the beaches, they protect the turtle nests, and that is a perfectly good act of service that can put you on the path to spirituality. there's food kitchens, there's, if you attend AA, you can, make coffee. Sponsorship in AA or mentorship in a program is an act of service and can give you that feeling of spirituality, can give you that purpose that so many of us are needing in order to maintain sobriety, in order to feel value or valuable, to feel valuable. Next one is the path of nature. Uh, as an avid hiker, I was an avid hiker. I haven't hiked in a long time, but I love to hike, and I love to go in the woods and in the mountains and just be there, to be part of that. I'm kicking the desk, so my camera's shaking a lot. But anyways, to be part of that, of nature, to experience the paths and the trees and the growth and the weather, which we've got a handful of it now. We're expected 70% rain for the next 2 days, and then 50 for the next 2 days. So we are in hurricane season. So we are in the path of nature, and but that's not what it's about. The path of nature is connecting with the with the natural flow of energy, what it's supposed to be, as opposed to what we make it because of all our technology. It is learning how to breathe with the trees. And here's the thing I kind of discovered is that we do literally breathe with the trees. They give us the oxygen we need. We give them, I think it's nitrogen that they need. And so there's this coexistence that is so important for nature and for us, for humans. And if you're not thinking about that, you may not. I don't know. When I started thinking about that, I started just feeling really connected, really important to the earth. But I've also learned from nature. I have been in actually, at the end of my marriage, I was in a really difficult spot, and I was trying to figure out what's the point of it all. If this isn't going to work, what's the point of it all? And why is everything going so wrong? And I walked up a hill and sat on a rock, and I asked my grandma, who had been, passed away several years ago. And I am not spiritual in that way so much. I am now. Then I wasn't at all, but I wasn't spiritual in the way that I actually thought she would answer. What ended up happening was shortly after I asked, I'm like seconds after I asked, I looked up, and there was a bird, a big bird. I don't know what kind it was, but there was a bird flying in the sky, and it was flapping its wings really, really hard, and then it would soar, and then flapping its wings really, really hard, and then it would soar. And the answer came to me that this too shall pass. Isn't that crazy? That is one that I don't one saying that I don't like, but that's what that taught me, is that this too shall pass, that everything is going on around us and in our world is part of the natural process that's supposed to happen. So if you are looking for the path of nature, all you have to do is get out and be one with nature. Even if that is the backyard. You may have seen videos of me dancing in the rain. That is me getting in touch with nature. I absolutely love it and kind of feel like it's washing me clean of my sins. I don't know. Of bad thoughts, emotions. Also, one of the things I love, if you've seen the movie Phenomenon with John Travolta, there's a scene in which he talks about the trees blowing in the wind. And if you look at the end, Sarah Kedgwick, Kira Sedgwick, had that backwards. Kira Sedgwick puts her hands on her heart, and she watches the trees, and she starts just swaying with the trees in the wind. And what a beautiful thing. Occasionally I will do that. If the wind is nice and I got a view of the trees, I will just stop and sway with them. And it's just incredibly calming. It's incredibly meditative, and I never feel more spiritual than when I do that. So, the path of nature. Now, why am I talking about this? You don't want to get spiritual, you want to get sober. Well, there's a lot of benefits to spirituality and in terms of sobriety. Someone just joined. I don't know where you are, but if you could say hi, I would love it. I will go ahead and say hi back if I know who you are. Anyway, so the benefits of spirituality to recovery. Hold on a second. um, while we are drinking, alcohol becomes our center. If you've drank for any time, if you're struggling with recovery, if you're struggling to quit drinking, if you're just sober curious and think that you may need to quit drinking but can't seem to go a couple days without it, you know what this means. This means that, oh, for me, I guess I'll say it this way. For me, it meant that when I went to a party, whether it be a wedding, whether it be a Thanksgiving family get together, or, a big party where I know there's going to be partying, I always wanted to make sure that there would be alcohol there. Always. If there wasn't going to be alcohol, if it was a family gathering, I would hide some in my purse. I would take it with me. It had to be there. Um, Even when I wasn't drinking heavily, I thought, "Oh, how much fun is this gonna be without alcohol?" This was in the early days of my addiction and my drinking. Um, it becomes the center of our world. The second I got off work, I was looking for either a bar or a liquor store. Here in Alabama, they're called package stores. I don't understand what the difference is, but that's what they're called. And the second I got off work, I was looking for one so I could get my stash for the evening. When I got sober, and I am not gonna guarantee that I won't find more because I still got a lot of stuff in boxes, but when I got sober and I was going through some of my stuff, I was constantly finding bottles everywhere because I was trying to stash them. The empty bottles, I didn't want anyone to find the empty bottles, so I would stash them, forget where I stashed them, and then, several years later, I'm sober and going through stuff, and here's a bottle, and here's a bottle, and the whole thing is alcohol is such a center of our world that we want to drink. I'm getting beeped here everywhere. But we don't want anyone to know, and we even become so fearful of people finding out that it becomes an, "Oh god, how do I hide this?" So, anyways, alcohol is the center of our world, but spirituality can help you recenter. And here's how it does this. When you meditate, when you are working on your intellectual, the path of knowledge, when you are working on the I'm looking at my notes here again, when you are working on the path of nature, any of that, it helps you to calm yourself, to get out of those negative thoughts, to get out of this alcohol obsession. It just refocuses your brain to go someplace else. Through spirituality, through mindfulness, you can learn about self-awareness. Y- you can, you know, instead of thinking you have to drink, you can start looking at at what you really want, at who you really are. Boy, when I got out of stop drinking, I had no idea who I really was. I had dropped so many of my morals just so that I could continue to drink, that I forgot about me. I forgot about what I wanted. I was dating people that I would really have not a whole lot to do with. And through spirituality, through self-awareness with spirituality, I was able to start seeing that again and start really kind of taking a look at who I was hanging around with, and what I wanted. And I started hanging around with people that are also spiritual. Not massively, I'm not one of those people who meditates every single day, but I started learning about that and started, kind of pulling in ideas from other people. Spirituality can help you connect with something bigger than you. As I said early, the path to nature helped me learn that I was important in this world. And the path of knowledge. Oh my gosh, I did some studying on the birds, and this is so crazy. And it wasn't like I studied the birds. I read studies about birds that were done, and one of the studies it really did identify the fact that when you see a flock of birds flying in a certain direction, and then suddenly they turn and go a different way. So the scientists have tried to figure out what is the signal. What says, okay, it's time to turn left, it's time to turn right. And what they found is that there isn't one. There isn't a signal, they cannot identify it. Same with schools of fish, they cannot identify a signal that says, "We gotta go left or we gotta go right." With bats, there's sonar. Well, they haven't been able to identify that with birds. And what they said is that they believe is that there is a spiritual connection, that there is a unity, a oneness with, the flock of birds, that they're able to hear and to see that because their minds aren't so cluttered up with what we have is the technology, even the I, I think, therefore I am. And because I think, we have built this ego that says that I am the most important thing, I am the center. And when you build this connection with nature and with the earth, you can start becoming more like the birds. I don't know that you'll ever hear that signal, but you can start becoming more like the birds and work more in sync with nature, more in sync with how things are supposed to be. When I started my path of spirituality, I really started paying attention to intuition, and I learned that I can now feel the answer. And I'm not talking about the big answer. I'm not talking about the energy, what God wants for me, or maybe it is that, I don't know. What I'm saying is that when I stop and when I meditate or when I really focus on um my body and I ask my body a question, my body answers. And I don't know what it is, but I just know in my gut. I guess that's where I feel it a little bit in my gut. I know the answer in the hairs on my arms. I know the answer. I can feel it in my body. Um, so it gives you a connection with something bigger. Spirituality can give you purpose. As I said, there was that meeting on the beach, and that's kind of when I connected to my purpose. First of all, I realized through spirituality that I am more important than what I think I am. And I realized I've asked this question, what should I be doing? And I realized when my body said it would give me chills, it would give me energy. When my body said, what do I want to do with my life? And I came up with an answer, I felt that energy and it gave me focus. It gave me purpose, something to work towards. And, when we stop drinking, we have all this extra time on our hands. We a lot of times get a lot of extra money because we're not spending on alcohol and or drugs or the party or buying grounds of drink and whatever it is. You're not paying for legal problems. Once you get those cleared up, if you have them, they go away, and you have all this money and you have all this time on your hand and you need to put your mind someplace to do something. A lot of people don't do that. They just continue on with life minus the alcohol, and it's very difficult. Spirituality will help you to find purpose, to really understand what it is you want to do with your life, and it promotes joy. And I'm going to kind of speed up here a little bit because I'm talking a lot, but spirituality, this is a big one for me and a big one for people in sobriety. It helps you focus on the present. Now, if you made some mistakes in your drinking days, I made plenty of mistakes while I was drinking. I was arrested for public intoxication. I dated a lot of people I really wish I hadn't have dated. I neglected my children. They were adults by this time, but I neglected my children and some important events that I regret. And all that regret, the money wasted, the time wasted, the people you hurt, the time you didn't give to your parents, the unfairness of it all that you exposed the people around you to because you drank. All that stuff creates all this regret in you, and it's easy to get back into this. I'm a horrible piece of what in sobriety once you're sober, but spirituality helps you focus on the present. Now, this is the only time that matters. This right here today is the only time I can change. It is the only time I can deal with. It is the only time that I have to manage at the moment. And I don't have to fully manage it. I just have to understand that my past, what it was, does not define my right now, my present right now. And that is something that you get with spirituality. And that doesn't even talk about the future. The future. So, as I said last week, I missed the live because I was moving. I have a lot of changes going on, a lot of things that could happen in the future that I'm scared about. I let's face it, I don't know what tomorrow's going to bring, and neither do you. What I do know is that right now I have the ability to make a choice that may or may not work out the way I hope, but right now I have the ability to make that choice, and everything is okay in this moment. When you become mindful and you really start to see the difference between tomorrow, next week, 2 years from now, and what's going on right now, you can actually pay attention to what really matters. Spirituality and recovery helps us to do that. It increases gratitude. One of the things that I did as a spiritual practice, that I still do as a spiritual practice, I have to pay a little more attention to do. It was like I just did it for like a year. I wrote every day in a journal 5 things I'm grateful for and 5 affirmations, 5 things that positive things I can say about myself, including I am worthy, I am enough, I am a great speaker, I am a wonderful employee. Those are affirmations. And every day for the first year of sobriety, I wrote 5 gratitudes. I love the butterflies. I'm grateful for, the sun that's out today. I'm grateful for the rain. I'm grateful for the lightning. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful for my job. So the first year of sobriety, I did that. And what had happened is that it kind of creates this loop, this gratitude loop, so that if I would do that first thing in the morning, midday, I'm still holding on to this gratitude. And when something went wrong, it was so much easier for me to see what went right in it instead. I got sent home from work. Okay, I could focus on I'm not gonna make the money, or I can focus on, well, it's early enough I can run by the beach. Spirituality allows us to do that. And let me tell you, when you're just getting sober, you really need to learn that gratitude, because while we were drinking, we didn't have a whole lot to be grateful for. Spirituality helps with healing. There is a lot to be said for about spirituality and the benefits of it towards stress, towards anxiety, towards depression. I read someplace that knitting, and I was paying attention to this because I knitted a lot at the time, but that knitting can be a form of spirituality. It can be a form of mindfulness. That's the big thing, mindfulness. Because when I am knitting, I am not thinking about what's happening out there, and I'm not thinking about, my emotional pain. I'm not thinking about the dishes that need to be done. What I'm thinking about is I'm counting the numbers. I'm thinking about my stitches, my loops, and keeping on task with that. And so knitting as a form of mindfulness, as a form of spirituality works. Do you like to knit? Do you like to bead? I love making jewelry, and I have to count my beads when I'm making jewelry. I have to really pay attention to that. So that can be a form of spirituality. Um, and when you're paying attention to that, you are not paying attention to not being able to drink. You are not paying attention to the damage that you did because you drank. Yeah, bad relationships. You're not paying attention to any of that. All I did when I knit was count. I knitted some more complicated stuff. If I'm just doing a scarf that has no pattern, I probably that's not going to work for me. But I did sweaters and socks and some more complicated stuff, and that you really have to focus on the work and not have your head in other places. Last thing I'm gonna talk about, I did talk about it, stress, anxiety, and depression a little bit. If you are spiritual, and you are self-aware, that's a good example. If you are self-aware, um, and spiritual and practicing mindfulness and practicing meditation, then when you are faced with that scary thing, that thing that will normally get you all tied up in knots and anxious about the future, about what's going right and what's going wrong, if you're self-aware, you can stop. You can you can really identify, okay, is this a true problem for me right now, and calm down. I get anxious from time to time. Not about a lot of stuff. Anxiety is not my big problem. Depression is my big problem. Stress is my big problem. Anxiety, not so much, or at least it doesn't appear for me in ways that it does for a lot of people. But depression is, and when I get into a depressed state and I start practicing spirituality, when I get stressed out and start practicing spirituality, it helps. It also helps with blood pressure, it helps with heart rate. There are some ideas about spirituality and energy that literally help with healing or you know, identify with healing cancers. And there's a lot of people that I've heard of. I've not experienced this, but I've heard this, that their spirituality helped them through their cancer. So it helps with healing. And last but not least, spirituality in sobriety can help you learn how to take personal responsibility. When you take a minute to really look at what's going on in your life, then you can see your personal responsibility. You can see differently so that you can make decisions to help you be responsible. Is this my problem? Yes or no? Is this something I can help with, whether or not it's my problem? Yes or no? Spirituality allows me to become self aware so that I can make these decisions, so that I can take personal responsibility for my actions. Anyways, if you are not spiritual, but trying to get sober, you might want to think about it. What I do with when I coach is really talk about spirituality, really try to connect with that, because if nothing else, it promotes a positive attitude toward yourself. And when we're trying to recover, we really need that. I really identified as being a loser, a piece of shit. I identified that when I first got sober, and I I dove pretty deep into finding meditation, into mindfulness, into gratitude. I have two parents. I had two parents at the time. My dad was really sick with cancer, and I dove into the path of service, into helping him, and I found a lot of gratitude in giving him the help he needed. That also gave me an opportunity to make amends for the damage I had caused, for the stress that I had put on them, and the worry that I had put on them. And spirituality was a big part of that. And like I said, I had difficulty with the whole God thing early in sobriety. I keep saying that, but I just had a lot of difficulty, and it's so common that people have difficulty with that. They don't want to go to AA. They don't want to go to Celebrate Recovery. They're just reluctant to connect with themselves in that way. But it doesn't have to be about that. It was not about that for me. It was about just connecting with myself. I say that there are two paths to spirituality. There's this inner path, this what's going on inside me, and then there's this outer path. How am I part of a bigger thing? How am I part of a bigger purpose to this world? And I dug really deep into connecting with both those paths. So that's it for today. I'm going to tell you, I would love comments. I'm using my microphone today. I've had it all this time and I've never used it. I'm hoping things come out well for you. I'm hoping the sound comes out well. If you if I'd love a comment on that, if you can take a minute to do that, because I don't know. I just I'm trying to improve. So again, head over. I don't know if I said this, but I'm going to say it now. Head over to the Facebook group. If you want, I don't think I did say it. So let me go ahead and throw this out here. I did a 5-day challenge. I did say it. A 5-day challenge in the Facebook group on mindfulness, and I gave tips each day on how to be mindful, on things you can do to practice mindfulness. I have the address up on the Facebook on the screen right there. If you take a look at that, you can go to Facebook groups, Sobriety Coach Fox, and you can join the group and access that challenge. It's 5 days of videos. I think the longest one is a half an hour, but most of them are under 20. 5 days, different mindfulness practices each day. There were a couple days where I did 2 or 3 mindfulness practices. I talked about why it's important. I talk about the benefits that you can get from being mindful in sobriety. And anyways, it's there in the guides waiting for you to join the group. Just go ahead and head over there and hit that join button. All of these videos that I do can be found on YouTube. Here we go. And I don't have a link there, but you can go into Now Sober on YouTube. I'll put the link in the comments later. But you can find the link there. Every video that I've done, almost. There's a couple that I haven't, but every video that I've done is on my YouTube channel. I've hit over 100 at this point. So head on over there to get more. Hit that subscribe button because I am trying to get 100 subscribers so that I can go ahead and personalize my YouTube channel name, my URL. The name's personalized, the URL is not. And last but not least, I'm giving too many CTAs here, but I'm going to do it anyways. If you if you need help with sobriety, that's what I do. I'm here. I have a plan that talks about spirituality, talks about self awareness. It works with your habits to reframe them. Um, it just does a lot of things and, get you finding a purpose that makes you want to succeed at that more than you want to drink. So there's a lot of things that we do in my coaching program. Please connect with me. You can. I got one more. You can connect with that on nowsobercoach.com, or you can send me a message right here if you're embarrassed and you don't want to do it so that anyone else can see. Private messages you won't. Comment on this you will. Other people can see, but you can actually email me directly at Jeanna at nowsobercoach.com, and we can talk. I give offer a free consultation to talk about sobriety, to kind of get a little idea of where you are, whether or not you're sober curious, whether or not you have a serious problem and you need to actually fully get sober. We can talk about that. It's a free consultation call. Just reach out to me and I will get you a link so that you can schedule that appointment. And we can just talk about whether or not sobriety coaching is right for you. All right. I think that's it. I can take a deep breath now and I can move on. And yeah, I will talk to you next week. I don't think I have a topic scheduled. So I'll probably just go back to the not sorry. No, I have a topic scheduled, but I don't have it listed on here. So hold on. We'll get this. Um I don't know. I'll put the link. How about that? I'll talk about it in the links. I don't know. I didn't think about getting that. I was so proud of me for getting everything organized. In the meantime, here we go. You have a wonderful day. Stay sober. You can do this. You can do this. It's definitely within your power. All right. Thanks. Have a wonderful day. And we will talk to you next time, next Tuesday, 2 o'clock. Yeah, I'll be here. All right. Thanks. Bye.